Hello friends, I hope that you are doing good, and we are taking an initial look at my favorite Mac to ever be made, and it probably will continue to be the MacBook Air. I was waiting for the MacBook Air to get the M5. I honestly thought they didn't give it the M5 this morning, but they actually did, and here we are, and holy cow, now it's supercharged by the M5. I think the MacBook Air is going to be my main new machine jumping from the M1 Mac. So we know the M5, and we know that when it was tested with a Blender, it took about 16 seconds, and that is definitely faster than the M4 and faster than the M1 Max as well. And as you can see right here, that is the percentage for how faster the M5 is in comparison to the M4. So that's the performance that we will be looking at. However, before we dive deeper into the machine, I want to take a look at the pricing. So let's say we are getting the Midnight and we are getting the base model, and the base model starts at the price of $1,100. Now keep in mind, we are not using the student discount thus far. And here we have the base model that comes with the 10-core CPU and then the 8-core GPU. I have tested that particular variant of M5 on the channel, so you can definitely go ahead and check that yourself. And also I want to test the M4 10-core CPU and 10-core GPU as well, which I will be addressing very soon. With the variant that we will be going with, let's go with the 10-core CPU and then the 10-core GPU. In terms of the RAM, let's have a quick conversation about it. 16GB of RAM is actually really good. If you are using a Blender and doing any type of a 3D work or whatever that might be, I do recommend if you can spulge the extra $200 to go to the 24. I think that would definitely be helpful, because keep in mind you have a shared memory, or what Apple like to call a unified memory, meaning that your GPU is shared with your RAM, so the more RAM that you give yourself, the better GPU that you have. But I think a 24 for a base M5 is actually really good, because pushing to 32 probably it's going to be a diminishing return at that point. Now for me, since this will be my only machine and the machine that I will be using for the next 5 years, since I got the M1 Max, I will definitely personally go with the 32. And then in terms of the storage, you can go 1TB. I think 1TB is really good, especially if you are doing a lot of 3D modeling or whatever that might be, and you do not want to outsource anything in terms of having external hard drives or whatever that might be. However, if you are interested in a hard drive or in a docking station, I actually do have the Wavelink docking station video on the channel. You can check that out. And I do have the Fidico enclosure for an external hard drive as well, that you can check both of these videos. I will leave links for you to check them out. Now for me, I am torn between 2TB and 4TB. I think I am going with the 2TB. I feel like the 2TB is a good option, because my current M1 Max have actually 8TB, but I think the 8TB, a lot of it has not been put fully to use, so I think 2TB is the sweet spot. So this is what I will be looking at. I will be looking at 32GB of unified memory, aka shared memory, and then I will be looking at the 10-core GPU and then the 10-core CPU. And in terms of the storage, I will be looking at the 2TB. The power adapter, we do have the 40-watt dynamic power adapter with 60-watt max, so basically it goes up and down, or you can get a dual USB-C port, which is 35 watts for extra $20, or the 70-watt. I do have the 70-watt here with me. I do not have this dual USB-C. Maybe I should get it, but I will stick with the basic 40 and call it a day, which is the one that you are seeing right here. Cost for that is going to be $2,100, which I actually do not think it's a very bad deal, taking into account the prices of the GPUs and RAM right now. However, let's do the same, but this time let's go to shop for college. So basically with shopping with college, it's actually going to be cheaper. With that, let's go ahead and take the price. So the price would now start, instead of 1,100, it will start at 1,000. And it seems like with the M5 they increased the price by $100, so that is something to keep in mind. So let's say for this one, I'm gonna get a Starlight, and then it's the base model. From here, I'm gonna go with the 10-core GPU and then the 10-core CPU, which we will talk about that in a second. And then in terms of the memory, we are going with 32. In terms of the storage, we are getting 2TB, and that will set us at 1,000 2,940, which is less than the price that we had a second ago, which was 2,100. Now let's say for you, you're gonna go with 1 terabyte and 24 gigabytes, so you're looking at 1,400. That's with the student discount, and that's the ultimate blender machine that I would recommend that you would go with. Now if you decided to go with the 512, that's still a decent option as well, but do not go lower than 24 gigabytes of RAM, and with that you will be looking at 1,200 from the previous price that we just had a second ago. Now let's talk about the M5 chip itself. The M5 chip, it's an Apple Silicon chip that is quite powerful. You have the CPU and the GPU with the unified memory all working together to give you a phenomenal speed and capability. In terms of the neural accelerator, I do not do a lot of things that are related to AI, and in a general sense I am against AI and using AI. That's why I have not used it since it became a thing, so I do not care about that. However, my focus is always been and will always be, for the most part, 3D work in terms of modeling and animation, and also After Effects in terms of visual effects, such as the effect that you are seeing in this video right now. Here we have two variants. So we have the 10-core CPU and then the 8-core GPU with the 4 super cores, or you have the other more premium variant, which is the 10-core CPU and then the 10-core GPU. Honestly, between those two, it doesn't matter which one you will be getting, because both have the same memory bandwidth. So 153 gigabyte, it's not a huge deal, but as soon as you upgrade your RAM and go to 24, you actually get the 10-core CPU and then the 10-core GPU anyway, so you do not get the banned version of the CPU, unless you went with the very base model, and if you did that, I don't see a problem with you going with the 8-core GPU. Now it does have a note here: if your work or play is more graphic intensive, such as you are playing video games or you are doing 3D modeling or animation or whatever that might be, or if you edit high resolution photos or videos, then you might benefit from a more GPU cores. And in terms of the performance that we are getting from the M5 itself, we are getting 16 seconds with the junk shop in terms of rendering, and then in terms of working with the viewport and everything else, it was working just fine without any issues. In terms of battery life, we are gonna get 18 hours of battery life. We're gonna get 2 Thunderbolt 4. I was hoping maybe we would get Thunderbolt 5, or at least one of the ports would be Thunderbolt 5, but oh well. A 3.5 headphone jack, and then MagSafe port, and then support up to 2 external displays. Usually I only use 1 external display, and then you have Wi-Fi 7 and then a Bluetooth 6, which is actually good with the Apple N1 chip. Whom I would recommend the MacBook Air to if you are doing a 3D work. If you are using a Blender, if you are using ZBrush, this machine is excellent. If you are doing animations using Cinema 4D or using Blender, if you are doing modeling using Maya, this machine is perfect. The only downside to this machine, since it doesn't have a fan, rendering for a very long time would definitely be a struggle. So I do recommend getting actually a laptop fan pad to put under the laptop, and I do have one that I use personally that I will leave for you in the comments below to check out, in the description as well if it was not in the comment section. And I do recommend getting that one where you would put it under your laptop if you are using it sustainably for a very long time where you are rendering. Maybe your render engine is Redshift or Arnold or V-Ray, so that's something to keep in mind. The only case that I would not recommend getting the MacBook Air, whether the M4 or the M5 actually, is if you are using Unreal Engine in any capacity. If you know that you're gonna use Unreal Engine in any capacity on macOS, I do not recommend that you would go with it. However, there might be an option or a solution to that, maybe to run, let's say, parallel windows. You can run Windows on your Mac through like a virtual machine, and then you would run Unreal Engine. That's definitely a solution that I want to explore as the days goes by, and then we will see what type of solutions we will be getting. Then I think we have a winner overall. I know for me myself, I am using Maya. That would be my #1 software. After Maya, it would definitely be Final Cut Pro, and then after that it would be After Effects, and I know all of these, they will work just fine on the M5 MacBook Air. One of the things that I really like about the MacBook Air is how light it is, and it's built to go places. I would agree it's built to go places. There is the 15 and the 13. Right now I am leaning more toward the 13-inch because I really like the smaller display and I want a machine that is easier to carry. However, I might end up getting the 15. I don't know. I am torn between the two, but I am definitely leaning more toward the 13. My #1 pick would be the Midnight. My number 2 pick would be the Starlight, number 3 would be the Sky Blue, and then lastly Silver. Now take these numbers and percentages with a huge grain of salt, because we don't know how that, for example, would translate into Maya or Blender or Unreal Engine or Houdini or Cinema 4D, and that's why you are watching this channel and you are subscribing to it, so you can watch all these videos when they come out, and then we will be doing all of these tests. So when we are talking about multitasking and such, the M5 is actually excellent. Let's go inside the M5 and see. You can run video games. Yay! That's really nice, and I will actually be starting to test video games more and more on the channel. Since Apple now promoting that you play video games on Mac, that's definitely an angle that I will start exploring more and more. So basically we got the M5 MacBook Air, and we got the M5 Pro, and then the M5 Max as well, and then the base M5 is being put into the MacBook Pro as well. And if you want my advice, if you are getting the base M5, just go with the MacBook Air. It's cheaper and it's the same performance. However, it doesn't have a fan. But if you need the XDR display and if you need the extra ports such as the SD cards and such, then go with the MacBook Pro, the base M5. That's everything that I have, and we will definitely test it in depth when we get our hands on it. Do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you very soon.